Hi Gemini, this is Raina. Welcome to your June 2015 tarot reading. Obviously, this is just a general reading, but I just wanted to say that I created my own tarot spread and I chose 4 cards. The first card represents the energy lingering from the prior month and coming into the new month. So that would be the energy from the end of May coming into the beginning of June. The second card represents the energy for the first half of June. The third card represents the energy for the last half of June. And the fourth card is just an overall flavor of the month of June and maybe some advice on how to proceed during this month. So I hope that you get at least something from this reading. So the first card that I drew is the Ace of Swords in reverse. And when the Ace of Swords is upright, it symbolizes the power of thought, of being on point intellectually, cutting the crap, getting to the heart of the matter, and just being very rational and clear thinking. You got it reversed. And what I think this means is that the Mercury retrograde that has already been underway and will go into June until June 11th will be at play here. And we also have Neptune in Pisces squaring your Sun, which can cause a lot of delusional thinking, wishful thinking that is not based on anything grounded and that sort of thing. It's the kind of energy where people run away with other people and do all these crazy things and they're living a fantasy. There's nothing wrong with fantasy as long as you know that it's fantasy and that you don't act on something thinking that it's anything but fantasy. And so with this full moon occurring on June 2nd in the sign of Sagittarius, which is another mutable sign and will be squaring Neptune as well, I just think that June will start out in general for most people kind of muddled, foggy, nebulous, and we have to really keep our heads about us. We may even see this, in the media. We might be given false information, and it will cause us, or cause some of us, to react emotionally. And we have to really just stay detached and not automatically believe what we hear, whether in our personal lives or from outer sources. So what I think that this means for you is that even though you just started your new solar cycle when the sun went into Gemini, you might have to wait until the new moon on June 16th to really see your life kind of pick up, so to speak. So there might be like a temporary obstacle for the first couple of weeks in June because of this, situation with the Mercury retrograde as well as Neptune, creating a lack of clarity. And if there's any kind of personal situation, serious career matter or legal matter or, relationship matter, you don't need to make a decision right away unless you do. But if you don't have to make one, it probably, it might be a good idea to wait until after the new moon if you can. But if your intuition tells you that you have to act on it, of course, definitely honor your intuition above anything that I say. Just be wary of the kind of messages that you're getting at this time when Mercury's still retrograde, because there might be some distortion there. And the second card that I picked was the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, and this covers the first 2 weeks of June, and it kind of goes along with that card related to the Ace of Swords in reverse, in that there might be a situation where you're feeling that you're working and not getting the results that you're looking for. Or it could be that you're not really putting your all into a project. You're kind of being a little shoddy in it because maybe your heart isn't into it. And this might even mean that you're unemployed and that you can't find a job, and the card asks you, so you're really making use of your skills in the job that you have. If you're unemployed, it might be that you need to find a job where you can do this, and to really put this out in the universe, especially for your new moon wishes, because a lot of times people just kind of accept their fate, and they are in jobs, but they're not passionate about what they're doing. And so I really feel like I get this feeling that there's going to be some of you that have a lawsuit that is pending. And it might come to a head around the time of the full moon, because with the full moon in Sagittarius in that seventh house, the seventh house not only deals with intimate relationships, but it can deal with legal matters. And so I just feel that some of you may be feeling that you're being treated unfairly and you're afraid of the outcome. But I do believe that you're going to prevail, because the fourth card that I picked, which is the theme for the month, was the King of Swords. And this relates to winning a court case and coming out on top. So if this is something that is coming up for you, I think that at the beginning of the month you might be worried, and then at the end of the month you'll be vindicated and relieved that you prevailed. But I do feel that relationship energy is very strong for the month of June, for the sign of Gemini altogether. And this kind of surprises me because I don't think of Gemini as a really romantic sign. And indeed, 2 of the 4 cards that I picked were sword cards, and they relate to the air element, but it's a very detached sort of energy. It's not touchy-feely, passionate type of energy. It's very cool and intellectual, but even intellectual people fall in love. So if that is something that you want, then June might be the month that this comes true for you. But some of you might actually, get divorced at the beginning of June and then meet somebody new, in the second half of June. Because I picked for the first half of the month the Eight of Pentacles reversed, and then for the second half I picked the Lover's card. And the Lover's card is pretty self-explanatory, but it can also mean a choice that you have to make. I do feel, though, that for many of you, it will relate to an intimate relationship. And I think some of you can either be deepening a relationship, or else you meet that special someone during the last half of June. And, it's just a matter of kind of keeping your heart open, But as the King of Swords urges you to do, always keep your head. So don't allow yourself to get swept away by someone who might be totally wrong for you just because they have a good rap or they, intrigue you, because this could also come into play, especially I think towards the beginning of the month for those people that are out and about meeting people. During that time when Neptune is really squaring your sun big time, you could be finding somebody like that and you could just go crazy with this person. You could just find somebody who's, a grifter and think, he or she is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's not. So just, I don't think Gemini is the kind of person to really go crazy about people like that too often. But, every sign can, I don't associate Gemini with that kind of behavior of, being so swept off their feet, but you never know. It's always possible. But, I hope that, there are a lot of Geminis that want to be in love, because I think that there just seems to be this overall theme. I want to say, too, and this is kind of interesting, when I came up with this idea to create my own spread rather than use a pre-made one, I hadn't decided what each card would represent. So I was shuffling the deck, and this card just like jumped out of the deck, and I said, okay, I got to use this because that's what you're supposed to do. And I turned it over, and it was the Lovers reversed. And then that was when I said, uh-oh, I'm supposed to decide what each card represents and then place the card down. And so I said, I can't use this card. I got to put it back in my deck. And I kept shuffling it. And sure enough, it came up again, but this time upright. So I definitely, if I chose the Lover's card twice, I think it really means something, especially with that full moon in the 7th house. But what it means for you specifically, I cannot say. I do think that the last half of the month will pick up in energy, maybe even like big time. And I think that looking astrologically, that your money situation will get even better in the final week of June going into July. So if you were curious about that, I didn't get a hit about money, so to speak, because the cards that I just drew 4. And so this was kind of like a mini reading, but the theme I got was more about close relationships, and also for people that are going through any kind of a legal challenge. I think that you will prevail in it, although it may seem, bleak at the beginning of the month. It may seem iffy, but then at the end, I think that justice will be served in your favor. I also think that some of you will decide that a relationship is toast, and it will actually be a good thing, because, with that Ace of Swords in reverse, I think that it can indicate, abusive talk, somebody who is cutting somebody else down. So, watch out for that. If you're having a surgery at that time, be very mindful of, making sure that it's, healing properly and things of that nature. Swords can represent surgeries, and with the reversed, you could have a complication. So you want to really be on top of everything that's happening. But definitely, if there is like a breakup, it's going to be something that is not upsetting to you. It may be something you instigate. that you realize you deserve better, that somebody's being abusive to you and they're talking badly to you. This is, two sword cards. Sword is, as I said, it's air signs. The lovers is a Gemini card. So that's pretty cool too. But I just think that it could be a situation where you get rid of one relationship and move on to another one, or you just get rid of that relationship and you're good with your decision. It's not something that takes you by surprise or that is really messy. It's just something you're doing that is for your benefit. I'm just kind of experimenting with different formats, so I didn't want to draw too many cards because I didn't want it to get too complicated, but this gives a little flavor for what might happen in June, and maybe this will just apply to certain Geminis. But in any case, I hope that you got something out of this, and if you would like a much more personal reading, whether it be astrology or the tarot or it combined, you can either email me at rainamoon14@gmail.com, or you can go to my Google Plus page, or just click the information box below. It has my website. All right, I look forward to July, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.